This is Hayes Q Jones, your DVD and Blu-ray baller on a budget, and this is HQ Videos for you. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Please like, share, subscribe. If you're a current subscriber, what's up? You're greatly appreciated. Come on in, make yourself at home. This week I'm continuing my horror series. I started out with the 70s and 80s, and now we're up into the 90s. And as I went through my top 10 list of, my opinion, the top 10 horror pictures of the 90s, I just noticed it was kind of a transition from the 70s and 80s to more psychological, little paranormal horror. So it's not just the slasher kill, mindless killing. It's a little bit more intricate. It's a little bit more mind-provoking. So I love doing this top 10. Hopefully you like it too. So you know the routine. Sit back, relax, have a drink of a smoke, and I'll catch you on the other end of this video. We're back at the Black Cave. Back at the Black Cave. We are back at the motherfucking Black Cave. Just going to jump right into my top 10 90s horror flicks in my collection. Going to start out with Jacob's Ladder. Jacob's Ladder is a 1990 drama, fantasy, horror, mystery thriller directed by Adrian Lyne, produced by Mario Kassar, written by Bruce Joel Rubin, cinematography by Jeffrey L. Kimball, and music by Maurice Jarre. This stars Tim Robbins, Elizabeth Pena, Danny Aiello, Matt Craven, and Pruitt Taylor Vince. And this is about Tim Robbins, a traumatized Vietnam War veteran, finds out that he has this post-war life, and he doesn't believe when he's being attacked by horror creatures in the subway, and his dead son comes for him. So he doesn't know what's real or what's actually imaginary, or if it's something from the war. Very cool, very visually odd, for lack of a better term. You see all these kind of weird images pop up, and Tim Robbins is trying to deal with this. Elizabeth Pena is his girlfriend. So very interesting, somewhat creepy, but I wouldn't say scary though, but very creepy movie. 1990s, Jacob's Ladder, and this is a Studio Canal Lionsgate release, and I'll try my best to remember the distributors. Number 10, Jacob's Ladder. My number 9 pick, Scream. This is a 1996 horror mystery thriller. This was directed by the famous Wes Craven, produced by the other guy's brother, Bob Weinstein, written by Kevin Williamson, cinematography, Mark Irwin, and music by Marco Beltrami. This stars Drew Barrymore, Roger L. Jackson, Kevin Patrick Walls, David Booth, and Carla Hatley. And this kind of almost makes fun of the other horror movies, I think specifically like Halloween and Friday, so much that it actually caused a series or a franchise in movies. I have the 5 film set. They're actually the 6th one with the little Gomez chick from Wednesday, the Addams Family. But this is a killer known as Ghostface begins killing off teenagers, and as the body count starts to rise, one girl and her friends finds themselves contemplating the rules of horror films, and they find themselves in kind of a real-life horror movie. So this is more of a fun slasher movie. Not so much like Friday the 13th or Halloween. It's almost a parody of those movies though, but it still has some of those gruesome kill scenes, but not all the gore that Halloween and Friday the 13th and some of those other Texas Massacre type of movies though. It, for lack of a better term, it's kind of a family-friendly horror film, kind of like for preteens. This is 1996, my number 9 pick, Scream. And before I forget, this is a Miramax Lionsgate release. Next, at number 8, we have the third installment of the Evil Dead trilogy. This is the 1992 action comedy horror film, Army of Darkness. This was directed and written by Sam Raimi, produced by Bruce Campbell, cinematography by Bill Pope, music by Joseph Loduca. This stars Bill Campbell, Elizabeth Davids, Marcus Gilbert, Ian Abercrombie, and Richard Grove. And this, I believe, picks up where Evil Dead 2 pretty much drops off. A man's accidentally transported to the 1300s, where he has to battle the dead and retrieve this necromancer so he can return home, which I think is the Book of the Dead. So very fun horror film. Little goofy, little silly though. Again, it's not as intense as the first one. A little bit goofier than the second one though, but again, it gives you that Sam Raimi kind of feel of film of horror. So my number 8 pick, and this is, I almost forgot, Universal. This is a Universal release, known by the generic Universal cover on the disc. Army of Darkness, number 8. My number 7 pick, this is the 1999 drama horror mystery thriller, The Blair Witch Project. This was directed by Daniel Myrick, directed and written by Daniel Myrick, produced by Robin Cowie, cinematographed by Neil Fredericks, music by Antonio Cora. It's starring Heather Donahue, Joshua Leonard, Michael C. Williams, Bob Griffin, and Jim King. And essentially this is October 1994. You have 3 student filmmakers disappear in the woods near Burkittsville, Maryland, while shooting this documentary. And I don't know if this is like the first big lost footage film, but it's the first one that I ever saw, I believe. And this is the big thing. Everybody was saying, is this real? Is it not? Though, and what's so cool about it, they made it look so real, like it was a real documentary, and people were just wondering, what happened to these people. And as far as I know, I don't know if any of these actors and actresses ever popped up in anything else. If they have, please let me know. And as you can see, I don't have a DVD or Blu-ray of this, so probably keep a look on my channel. You'll probably see this drop on a Blu-ray maybe in the next couple of years if I get it the right price. So I have the old VHS. As you can see, this is the old Blockbuster. Please remember to rewind. This is Artesian release. So I'm going way old school on you right here. And it did so well that it did a sequel, which is not in my top 10, but I had to grab this. I might as well grab both of them though. Also another Blockbuster. And it also spawned a remake, which wasn't as good, wasn't edgy though. It just seemed sort of just blasé. But this is kind of a big deal, and it was very unique for its time. So my number 7 pick, Blair Witch Project. My next pick, in my opinion, this is a classic. This is the 1990 crime, drama, horror thriller. I almost made a word, crime and drama, crime, drama, horror thriller, Misery. And I don't know if I forgot this or just didn't know. This was directed and produced by Rob Reiner. Is Rob Reiner? I think Rob Reiner's Meathead. I think that's Carl Reiner's father. I'm not positive though. From Archie Bunker and All in the Family. Written by Stephen King, cinematography by Barry Sonnenfeld, and music by Mark Scheinman. This stars James Caan, Kathy Bates, Richard Farnsworth, Francis Sternhagen, and Lauren Bacall. And this is one of those great movies. I always respect movies that can have most of the action in a single room. You have to be an excellent storyteller. You have to have great storyline, actors, actresses, the whole nine. And essentially, you have the writer, played by James Caan. I forget how he ends up with Kathy Bates. And if you've never seen it, I don't want to ruin or give any spoilers though, but she kind of gets very accustomed. She's his biggest fan and she doesn't want to let him go, leave her home. I'll put it that way. There's a scene with the sledgehammer that is so memorable. And again, if you haven't seen that, you have to watch it. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. This is a MGM 20th Century Fox release. My number, I have to keep checking so I don't mess it up. My number, what number is this? 6. My number 6 pick, Misery. My number 5 pick, again, another classic. 90s is very good for, I guess, elevated horror. Very well-written, well-acted horror. Not just kill slash kill, but really intricate stories. This is the 1991 crime drama thriller, or crima thriller, Silence of the Lambs. Directed by Jonathan Demme, produced by Gary Goldsman, written by Ted Talley, cinematography by Tak Fujimoto. This stars Jodie Foster, Lawrence A. Boney, Cassie Lemons, Lawrence T. Rentz, and Scott Glenn. Oddly enough, they don't have the main character. Oh my God, his name is actually Anthony Hopkins. That's where they don't have. Anthony Hopkins is the star of this. If you're not familiar with Silence of the Lambs, it's actually off Manhunter. You have a serial killer, Hannibal Lecter, who is actually tasked with finding another killer. The FBI detective, played by Jodie Foster, Clarice, is tasked with trying to extract information from Anthony Hopkins, aka Hannibal Lecter. Fantastic movie, spawned several different movies. Manhunter was the original. You have Silence of the Lambs, you have Hannibal, you have The Red Dragon, and it actually spawned a television show by Mads Maskin and Gillian Anderson from The X-Files, which was an excellent television show. Normally, I don't like television movies that turn into television shows because you're expecting the same actors, but Matt Maxon, he did his thing. So if you like those psychological thrillers, not necessarily so much blood and gore, but more thoughtful kind of things that kind of screw with your head, this is a movie for you. My number 5 pick, Silence of the Lambs. And this is a 20th Century Fox MGM release. Clarice. Again, dropping more classics on you. This is the 1999 drama horror mystery special interest thriller, the 1999 The Sixth Sense, directed by M. Night Shyamalan, written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan, produced by Barry Mendel, cinematography by Tak Fujimoto, music by James Newton Howard. This stars Bruce Willis, Haley Joel Osment, Toni Collette, Olivia Williams, and Trevor Morgan. And to me, in my opinion, this is like a curse and a gift for M. Night Shyamalan. I believe this was his first movie or his first big hit. And in my opinion, he's failed to get another movie quite as special, unique, and as great as The Sixth Sense. He's had some good movies. The Happening, not so good movies, though, but he's had some good movies, but yet nothing to compare with this. Essentially, Bruce Willis is a psychologist. Is he a psychologist? I'm trying to think. Psychologist who is tasked with overseeing a child who sees dead people. And if you've never seen this, I'm not going to spoil it for you. After you've seen this, you're like, oh my God, how did I miss that? Fantastic movie, Great ending, great surprise ending. If you haven't seen this, do yourself a favor. In my opinion, M. Night Shyamalan's best film. My number 4 pick, The Sixth Sense. And this was, who released this? Trimark release. The Sixth Sense. And we're down to, that's number 4. My number 3 pick, and I know this is a multi-pack disc, but my number 3 pick, I don't know why they have this listed as a comedy, but comedy, drama, fantasy, horror, mystery, thriller, It. This came out in 1990. This was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, written and directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, which I always thought this was a Stephen King movie, which is weird. It must be based on a Stephen King story. Produced by Matthew O'Connor, cinematography by Richard Leiterman, music by Richard Bells. This stars Seth Green, Tim Curry. You might know Tim Curry from, I think, it's WKRP in Cincinnati. William B. Davis, Annette O'Toole, and Richard Masur. And this starts out in the 60s, which you have a group of outcast kids known as the Loser Club. They end up fighting this evil demon, the clown. And 30 years later, they reunite kind of to basically did what they did 30 years ago, I guess, conquer this clown. And this is the actual movie right here. This was a mini-series because, see, what's the running time on this? 192 minutes. So Stephen King, especially with his miniseries, does a great job of character development. You get into the story, you get into the individuals, and that kind of just really kind of brings you into the story. It is amazing for doing that. Very creepy movie, especially if you have a thing about clowns, which I don't though, but still very creepy. Anybody that puts some makeup and a red nose, that's a little weird to me though, but that's just me. It did so well that it did a reboot in the late 2000s. 1 and 2. I have the first one, I don't have the second one. Excellent reboot. The reboot was as good, if not better, than the original. Actually, probably a little bit creepier since it wasn't made for television, rated R, and they could have more latitude to be a little bit more expressive with the horror. So my number 3 pick, the 1990 miniseries, It. Okay, everyone together with me, if you dare. Candyman. 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 Candyman was the 1992 horror thriller. This was directed by Bernard Rose, produced and written by Clive Barker, cinematography by Anthony B. Richard, music by Philip Glass. This stars Virginia Madsen, the fabulous Tony Todd, Xander Berkeley, Cassie Lemons, and Vanessa Williams. Vanessa Williams from New Jack City, not Vanessa Williams, the American beauty pageant winner. Essentially, the Candyman is a murderous soul with a hook for a hand and is actually summoned in reality by saying his name 3 times. Very creepy movie, very well done. They actually did I don't call it a sequel. I don't call it a reboot. It's probably more of a sequel than a reboot with, I can't think of his name right now. The guy who did Nope, Us, Get Out. Again, his name escapes me right now though. But fabulous movie, very creepy, especially for the time when it came out in 1992. Good enough to actually produce 2 other movies after this, and again, the reboot. And of course, this is a Shout Factory release. The original was not a Shout Factory release. But give me a moment, let me tell you who did the remake. I'm glad I looked it up. The remake of Candyman was produced by Jordan Peele, not directed, but it was produced by him though. But my number 2 pick, Deuces, Candyman. And my number 1 pick, 1992 fantasy horror romance, yes, romance, 1992's Dracula. This was directed by Francis Ford Coppola, produced by Charles Mulvihill, written by Bram Stoker, cinematography, Michael Bauhaus, musician, Wojciech Wojciech, Wojciech. You try to pronounce that. The starring Gary Oldman, Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins, Keanu Reeves, and Richard E. Grant. In my opinion, this and Professional, one of Gary Oldman's best performances. And why I like this so much, I grew up, this is the actual disc for Dracula. I grew up reading all the classics, Mark Twain, Alexander Dumas, Edgar Allan Poe. Never read any Bram Stoker's though, but how this is different than normal Black Cape, I Want to Suck Your Blood. It's actually a romance, like Bram Stoker originally wrote it. I think it's based on Vlad the Impaler, loosely based on that. Essentially, this warrior, I don't want to spoil it for you though, but again, it's a love romance about someone that he loved dearly and they lost, and because of that loss, they became extremely vengeful and thus became the story Dracula. Fantastic actors, again, Gary Oldman, Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, of course, Anthony Hopkins. It has a really dark, gloomy, it's a mood picture. I just learned that term a few months ago. When a picture has like an overly dark or overly bright, kind of to set the mood. It's a very dark, dim mood. And again, Oldman does his thing. So this is my top 10 of 90s horror. Didn't realize how great these films actually are in the 90s. I mean, just acting, cinematography, just overall story. So, but if you made this far in the video, thank you. Smash a like. Give me the big thumbs up. Ring the bell. If you haven't subscribed yet, what's wrong? Subscribe. Other than that, may the best of your past be the worst of your future. Everyone be safe. Deuces.